heard, feel understood, because the underdogs to her path to power.
Her path to power. Hi, and welcome to Her Path to Power. I'm your host, Avani Bansal, and today I'm joined by someone very special. We have with us Crsytal Asige. Hi, Crsytal, and welcome to Her Path to Power.
Thank you very much, Avani.
Crsytal is an award-winning artist and a music producer. She's also a nominated senator of Kenya. Now, this is an incredible journey. You've had quite an unconventional journey, Crsytal, if I may say so. At what point did you decide that a mic on the floor of the Senate would be impactful?
That's a very interesting question, because I always say that I did not look for politics. Politics looked for me. I have come from a very humble background. I am the last born of 4 children in my family. And in fact, I'm the only person with disability, not just in my immediate family, but also in my cousins and wider still. So for me, it wasn't ever about a path that I saw myself taking into politics at all, actually. When I was younger, living in Mombasa on the coast of Kenya, what I used to do a lot was just be a dreamer. I was a dreamer. I was curious all the time. I was very much into performing arts, sports, and just asking questions. I was the kind of student in class who always asked questions and nobody ever liked it. Too many questions. Why you want to think, Crystal? So I think that as well, being a part of a family where there are lots of lawyers helped me to harness this skill, which is fighting for people, looking out for the underdog, trying to listen out for, where there are injustices, and taking injustice personally as well. So that was really blended into my life and who I am from a very young age. And so I just took that forward just in my daily life, my daily routines. And then somewhere in high school, when I was 14 or 15 years old, I began to lose my eyesight. And I found out between about 14 and 19 years old, after many tests, that I have something called glaucoma. And glaucoma shifted my trajectory completely. Nothing that I could have predicted, nothing that I could tell anyone like, oh, you just learn how to deal with a disability, this is how you do it, this is how you're trained. No, it was very much a solo journey, even though there were my parents around me, friends, family who were trying to sort of walk me through that. It's difficult for anyone to understand how to support somebody who is acquiring a disability.
How to navigate
exactly. And there's no way to stop it, because glaucoma has, until today, no cure, only ways to manage it. So it was very difficult to navigate through that. But I think because of this unique blend of experiences, and then coming into a party, I always voted with a particular party, my party right now, ODM. And coming into the party, people used to tell me, Crystal, you're really good at talking, you're good at speaking, communicating, you've got articulate ideas. Have you ever thought about politics? I was like, no.
Not for me.
Not for me. I'm just a musician. I just like, a sweet song and getting on stage and connecting with people in that way. But the challenge, I took it on. I was like, challenge accepted. And I spoke to some people in my party to try and lobby and talk to the right people, the powers that be, influence this idea of, could Crsytal Asige become a politician? And that's what they did on my behalf. Of course, I was participating in my party, and my party leader saw it fit for me to represent people with disabilities, women and youth, because that's the demographic that I represent. And got into politics in 2022, and I decided to use my pain and turn it into power. Because all that I experienced as being a non-disabled person and then becoming disabled, I tried to channel all of that into policy that'll change not just my own life, not just from a perspective of, oh, this is going to change me and my life and how I navigate through the world, but also those millions of people. 15% of my country, according to WHO, has a disability. That's about 8-point-something million people in Kenya. So how can I turn my tears into a tool for change? Yeah.
Studies show that no group is further behind than young Black women and girls with disabilities in Africa, because we carry multiple burdens of discrimination. We are 4 times more likely to suffer GBV, 3 times more likely to lack healthcare.
Wow. I had goosebumps listening to that. And I could relate with everything, like asking too many questions and being the difficult person and always thinking, right? And before I sort of talk about your work, I do want to ask you that this happened at 14, right?
Yeah.
When you started losing sight. So before you turned your pain into power, I'm sure there must have been times when you just like completely broke down.
Yes.
And so, what is it that helped you at that crucial moment to shift your perspective to say, I'm not a victim and I'm not alone, and that this is not the end for me? Because I'm sure there are a lot of young people who might never be able to sort of, transform that power, or who are currently navigating that, right? So, what helped you in during those times?
Yes. So I must say right now off the bat that I'm a very spiritual person. Faith for me is first. And so there was a particular moment I can remember in response to this question. I was at home. I remember coming back from university, because I went to university in the UK, and that's where I was trying to do a lot of my treatment, trying to like look for answers to this glaucoma. There must be something, there must be some kind of a miracle, some kind of a procedure that I can do that will stop or arrest or reverse. But I didn't find it. So I came back from university at around 21. I just turned 21 years old. I finished my university, and I was trying to apply to the BBC to do a training course there, but it didn't work out at the beginning. So I came back home immediately in 2010, and remembered being at home in Mombasa, figuring out, like, what am I going to do now? Because I studied, but my glaucoma is not coming to an end. It's still sort of like eating away at my eyesight. So what am I going to do now?
Right.
And I came home. People saw me as different. My friends were like, oh, this is not the person that we used to know. You've got a disability now. How do we handle you? How do we treat you? Are you still as fun as you used to be? Things like this. And I asked myself the same things. What's going to be next for me? And I remember this one evening, asking many questions to God in my mom's home and my parents' home, in my old room. And it was raining that evening, stormy, thundery, lots of rain that night. I remember crying myself to sleep and just really fighting with God, saying, God, why are you doing this to me?
Yeah, why me?
Why me? Why now? You gave me all these talents, all these dreams, all these ambitions, and you try and tell me that it's going to halt right here, right now? Why? And as I cried more, I remember distinctly that it rained more. The more I cried, the more it poured outside.
It was almost like a conversation.
Almost like I felt like God was really listening to me.
Talking to you.
So I remember falling asleep, tears on my pillow. And then that night I had this very vivid dream. This dream was me sitting in a white place. I don't know what it was. It's an empty space, very white, but it was very warm, very soothing in that place. And then opposite me, I was on the floor, sitting cross-legged, as I always do. Opposite me was a light. It was also sitting cross-legged, facing me. Couldn't see its face, but I could see that there were hands to this light. And this light held my face like this in front of me, on my cheeks. And I remember hearing the words, "Be still." So I woke up the next morning. That was it, end of the dream. Woke up in the morning and I felt just, again, curious, but energized at the same time. And I ran downstairs and I asked my mom, told her about the dream. I asked her, what's this be still? So we flipped through the Bible and we found Psalms 46:10 that says, be still and know that I am God. And that was the moment where I remember distinctly feeling like I have been told clearly that I will not be alone. And I don't need to work for trying to figure out or answer these questions that I was asking, all these tough questions that I was asking about myself, my identity, where I'm going to go next, because I felt that God was saying, I will be a lamp to your feet and a light on your path from here on out. Just trust me. It's okay. You might not understand it right now, but trust me. And then fast forward to today, realizing and looking in hindsight that if I didn't have a disability, I would not have been nominated in this affirmative action seat for disability. If I continued on the path of, full eyesight, non-disabled, just, living through and using my own energy and strength to move from place to place, then I would never have this opportunity. And now, because I have a disability, I'm in this seat, I'm representing my party, I'm representing people with disabilities across the country, and now I've been able to pass a law, which is the Disability Act of 2025.
Yes.
All those things would never have happened
Yes.
if I didn't accept on that night that God is saying, be still and know that I am God.
Wow, wow. Be still. It's a profound message. And I think it's about, you kind of feel that maybe some experiences come in your life to teach you compassion. Because it's only then that you can feel what others in similar shoes
Exactly.
would be feeling.
I completely agree with that because I've learned so much with my disability. People see it as a burden, a challenge, oh, poor you, woe is you. But I've learned to have a different perspective, which is that it's actually something that everyone should learn. Adversity comes to teach you only if you let it teach you. In any situation, whether it's finances, whether it's education, whether it's disability, whatever it might be. If you allow it to teach you something, then you'll actually find yourself much better than you ever would have been without it. And so I took that frame of mind and decided to allow disability to teach me. It taught me compassion. It taught me empathy. It taught me how to listen more than to speak. It also taught me how to rely on other people, not to be super independent, hyper independent, thinking that you can control and manipulate every part
Believing
of who
in the
you
community.
Exactly.
Yes.
Asking for help when you need it, because people are there to help you. That's what relationship building is about. That's what movement building is about, relying on the person to your left and to your right. And so these kind of things I would never have learned if I was just on my own path, doing my own thing and deciding like, I'm Crystal, I'm in control of absolutely everything. So it taught me how to also let go when it comes down to it. It's okay to let go and ask and seek for opinion and help and support elsewhere as well. And so these things are something that I would never have learned without disability.
I now know when I read that your motto is by faith, not by sight.
Exactly.
So now I know what's the story behind it. Thank you so much for sharing it. Yeah. Now, it is the ODM or the Orange Democratic Party that nominated you to represent specialized interests of persons with disability.
Yes.
But you're in a very powerful position right now as a senator in Kenya. And so do you sometimes feel like this challenge of do I speak about everything and about everyone? Because obviously as a human first, you feel about everything. You have an opinion on every subject.
Yeah.
And their causes, and I'm sure are very close to your heart. And yet there might be an expectation that if you're nominated to represent persons with disability or young people, that you speak on certain subjects more than others. Is that a challenge, and how are you navigating that?
I think it was a challenge at first for sure, because like you say, you have been put in a particular place to do a particular thing. And so veering away from that at the beginning was a bit difficult to figure out, how do I do this and still stay relevant on a national level?
Right.
And not to have people say, oh, she just does this, so let's just leave her on
Like
the corner.
every time you want to talk about diversity or persons with disability, let's hear
yes,
Crystal.
but anything else, then we want somebody else's voice. So at the beginning it was hard, and also because I was young and I was a first-time politician as well, coming in 2022 in Kenya. So everyone looked at me like, I remember the first day of Parliament when I was sworn in, and I was waiting to have a chance to make my maiden speech. There are, people in there who it's their second, their third, their fourth term.
Right.
People have been in this environment, in this space for years and decades and dynasties,
Sure.
And so I was feeling it. I remember standing up for the first time, asking for the mic, and my knees were like jelly. I'm telling you, literally. And somebody who's used to being on stage because of performing arts, I was
And
like,
I'm sure
this
you
is
would be
different.
prepared, with your speech.
You would think,
absolutely.
but the intimidation in the room and chamber was overwhelming for me. But I remember thinking, listen, Crystal, you have been put here for a particular assignment by your party leader. So just focus on that. Your disability as well, I told myself, helps you not to look to your left or your right, because you can't see now. So just focus on what's in front of you.
Wow.
And let that be your guiding light. So that's what I did. And I remember making my maiden speech, and everyone afterwards, I remember coming up to me in the little coffee lounge outside, shaking my hand. Politicians who I have looked out and looked at, for very many years, coming to me and saying, wow, that was amazing. You're so articulate, you're so focused, you're so this. And so I remember thinking, that maybe this is my opportunity to change the narrative. Maybe I've been put here not just to look out for interests of disability, but also to change the mindset of everyone else in society.
Right.
Because it's a unique opportunity that I have being on or living on both sides of the street, meaning living as a non-disabled person and now as a disabled person. No one else in that room has my experience. I'm very unique in that way. So why not take this challenge and turn it into something that will outlive you and outlast you, basically, so that other people behind you can have an easier time to get into the space. And when it comes to national issues, I pipe up. I'm not shy to press that mic and say, hey, Mr. Speaker, I've got something to say about, universal health coverage, about school fees, about health, about anything that I feel that I have a voice and need to speak, because people with disabilities are in every sector.
Of course.
We're in film, we're in the creative arts, we are affected by matters health, matters education, matters economics and our GDP. All of us are everywhere, you see.
And therefore, every issue is your issue.
Exactly,
Yes.
precisely. And that is something that I had to teach everyone in the house. Don't just limit me to this silo of disability, because disability is absolutely everywhere. So as soon as I garner that respect from my peers and as well as my elders in chambers and in parliament in general, and even in the executive, I was able to have an easier time.
Right.
And I think that the mindset, me telling myself, it's important for you to speak, Crystal, on every issue, that then allowed everyone else to see me as a national leader and a national voice.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I think that's a challenge, Crystal, that all of us face, right? Like a lot of times, I have this feeling that if I'm being a woman, if I'm going to talk about women issues only, then it's just very easy for people to simplify the narrative and say, you're a woman, talk about women issues, right? And then you're thinking, yes, I'm a woman, and therefore I have that experience, and therefore I could probably talk a little bit more informed than, somebody who doesn't identify as a woman. But then as a woman, I'm interacting with life, and therefore I want to talk about everything, right?
Exactly.
So I think it takes a while to find that voice, if you will. And and you clearly, not just in Kenya, I mean, I'm not saying this to appease you in any way, but I mean, being in India, I'd read about you. So I know that your voice is reaching beyond the borders of Kenya.
That's amazing.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big change that you've been able to bring.
And I'm happy that I'm hearing you say that, because why don't men have the same sort of like limitations put on them?
Right.
Because they're a man, they can only speak on men issues.
Right.
They speak about everything.
Right.
But it's only us women who are passionate about getting our voices out there, that are limited.
Yeah.
And I think that I believe it's important not just to think outside the box, but to think like without one.
Yes.
That's the creative space that I've come from, because as being a creative, we think, from the rooftops, and then we sort of like, bring it down to something that's realistic. So I think being a creative and having that ability and skill also transferable into politics makes me be somebody that, thinks without a box.
I have never thought about it like that. I am like, that's something I'm going to keep for a very long time. Why do we need a box at all?
Why?
Like, why are we
Who
thinking
created
about,
it?
Yes, thinking outside the box. Why can't we think without a box?
Exactly.
I think that's a spirit that also creative people bring into politics. So, I mean, as a musician, as a music producer, as an artist, what's the unique lens that you bring into politics, right? So do you feel that, I think there are very few artists in politics, unfortunately. There are a few and they're doing very well, but we definitely need more artists who do, they could be painters, sculptors, designers, what have you, in politics. So, as we feel that artists mostly operate out of their huts, and politics we think is a very head thing to do.
Correct.
Right?
Strategic.
Very strategic and very logical. So you would bring this fantastic balance of the head and the heart on table. Did you feel that you being an artist means that your politics is different?
I hope so, and that's actually my ambition and my goal is to redefine politician. And I think that, like you said, including the head and the heart, and then transferring that into the hands, meaning like implementation, like that's the perfect blend for me. And I wish that there were more people like that, or who thought that way, because you cannot absolutely in my opinion, make change with only one of those things. You have to have all of them baked into the
Yes.
solution, right?
Yes.
It needs your head, it needs your heart, it needs your hands. And so when I came in, I remember at the beginning people were saying like, oh, you're now a politician, like only focus on that. But I thought to myself, but why? Who's telling me that? I have
And
this mind.
what does it even mean to be a politician?
Exactly.
And who defines those
it?
definitions? Yes.
Because I always, like I say, like to ask questions. Assume nothing, ask everything about everything, right? That's sort of like how I attack things and approach things. So when I came into Parliament, I remember for the first time I sang in Parliament one time. And everyone was like, oh my goodness, this is unheard of. You can't sing in Parliament. Why is she... But everyone outside Parliament, Kenyans, non-Kenyans, were like, wow, this is interesting, so refreshing to hear somebody use music to argue her point, to use it within her debate.
Can I have this urge to tell you, can you like maybe sing a few lines for us? Like, what was it that you sang? It would be lovely to like maybe even just have a few lines.
Yeah, there was it was an impeachment process, I remember. And the point I was trying to make to the House was sometimes we chase after outcomes or things that are way beyond us.
Sure.
And I remember singing a TLC song which goes, don't go chasing waterfalls. Please stick to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to. I was telling politicians.
Oh my God. I could just like stop talking and keep just like listening to you sing.
I was telling politicians with that, like, don't go chasing waterfalls. Just stick to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to. Because sometimes we bite more than we can chew as politicians. We think we're bigger than our boots. We think that we're cleverer than the constituents that we're here to represent. But don't go chasing waterfalls. Listen to your people.
Wow.
Represent them the way they want to be represented. Yeah, don't go ahead of the people that you've come here to serve. So that's what I was doing with that. Just one.
I'm sure it must have sounded like ripples in the Senate. No?
Yeah, it was really good. And that was the moment I realized. And the speaker was very supportive of me. He was like, yeah, he could have just killed my mic, but he was like, this is interesting, this is different. So I think all of us have a particular place in Parliament, and mine is to blend creativity and politics and issues and use it all, because I believe that leave no one behind includes yourself.
Right.
Leave no part of yourself behind, because we're not just a single story as human beings. We're layered, we're complex, we are diverse in ourselves. And so why not bring everything to the table and use it all for the good of other people?
Yeah. So in politics, it's not like, and it also frees you from these expectations that as a politician, you ought to be a certain type.
Yeah.
It's very empowering, a message to say, bring your whole self to the table.
Yes.
Because there's nobody like you.
Yeah.
And there's nobody else with your experiences.
Yeah.
So you got to bring your voice.
Absolutely. And I think many people are doing it today. I mean, you see many entertainers moving into politics, Trump has done it. He used to be a reality show star, and now he's in politics, and he's doing it at the highest level possible.
Yes.
We see Bobby Wine in East Africa take the same path. He's now in the opposition. We see Mamdani, who just got elected in New York.
Yes.
He was a rapper, now he's a politician.
His music videos are going viral.
Exactly. So it's something that people are embracing more, but I would love to see more women embracing it and seeing that you're not just a monolith. You can bring absolutely everything to the table, and it can absolutely make change.
Before we proceed further, I have to ask you, how do you prefer we talk about disability? What's the language that we use? Because I know that, like, when I was researching to sit down and have this conversation with you today, I was thinking that yes, persons with disability is now a globally accepted word or phrase, but every day people, when they're interacting with somebody who has a disability, might think, okay, what's the appropriate thing to say?
Yeah.
If I show too much empathy, would it look like I'm treating you differently or specially? So do I treat you the same way? Do I use different words? So some very well-meaning people may not know what's the best thing to do.
Yeah.
So do you have some insights for us on that?
I really understand that. It's a minefield, to be honest. People feel like, oh my gosh, what do I do? How do I say? How do I not say it? So there's something that is universal between us in the community, the disabled community, which is that put the person first. It should be person first language. So That's why we say persons with disabilities instead of like a disabled person or a sick person or whatever. Put the person first, which is something that we feel has a lot of dignity in it. A lot of independence comes from just how you refer to us. But I also say to people, when you meet one person with a disability, you've only met one person with a disability. So your name is Avani, my name is Crystal. Just because you've met two women in politics or in this space doesn't mean that we're both called Crystal, right? We all have an identity, we're all individuals. So just same thing with disability. When you've met me, a visually impaired person, and you meet the next visually impaired person, don't treat us the same. Ask us, hey, what would you prefer? Just the way you've just done. Yeah, that's, I think, the most respectful and the most inclusive way of doing it, because I and people in Kenya refer to me as visually impaired person or VIP. That's how they call me. Hey, VIP, VIP, VIP.
I love that. I love that.
So it's something that
we have a VIP senator.
Exactly, which also fits as visually impaired parliamentarian, visually impaired politician. So VIP works in many different
and
contexts.
A very important person.
And a very important person. Thank you. So I remember giving myself that term actually a long time ago, when I was trying to adjust and adapt, trying to find myself and find my place in the world. What's going to be empowering for me? I asked myself. And I was in the London Tube one time, a very miserable day I was having. And then the guy who was helping me through the tube used his walkie-talkie and said, oh, we have a VIP, visually impaired passenger. That's how they called us, coming from this station to that station. And I was like, oh, VIP.
That sounds nice.
That sounds good. I like being called VIP.
Yes.
So I said, instead of visually impaired passenger, I was like visually impaired person. So I brought that home to Kenya when I came back home, and then called myself every opportunity, every platform. I was like, hi, my name is Crystal, I'm a VIP. Yes. And people loved it, and the visually impaired community adopted it immediately. And so it injected some, some self-confidence, self-efficacy. And like, we're not just a sad story or a sob story. We can actually be something that is empowering.
Yes.
And so that's why I say, when you meet somebody with a disability or anyone who's different from you, just ask them, how would you prefer to be called? But of course, you need to be aware of person first language, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Make sure that it's not coming from a place of charity or a place of we call it in Swahili woye, which is like a sob story,
right.
but a place of empowerment.
Right, right. So in the Kenyan Senate, representing persons with disability, what are some of the systemic changes that you've been able to bring about? How has the landscape for persons with disability changed, according to you, in any way, with you being in this place of power?
Well, first of all, I think the most significant one is that I've been able to draft and pass the Persons with Disabilities Act of 2025. There was an old act, but it was from 2003, so 22 years ago.
Wow.
And also that act was before we actually had a constitution in place. And so, of course, it was archaic. It didn't have all the technologies and progression that we've had over the last 22 years. The people who are born, I keep thinking to myself, there are people who are born in 2003 who are PWDs who needed this act of 2025 that I've been able to push, because they have known a life of a very different landscape for people with disabilities. So now they have something new, and I've been able to push that in just 2.5 years that I've been in Parliament, which is people tell me that it's like unheard of. You're just out of nowhere, a first-time politician, and you now have an act in your name.
And you push an act, yeah.
Yes. So that's been something that I've been very proud of.
And what are some of the key features of this act?
Oh, lots of things that I've been able to introduce in the new act. For example, I've been able to increase the retirement age from 60 to 65 for PWDs, because as PWDs, as you probably know, and many people will have experienced, we have so many barriers that we have to deal with, especially education and the workplace. And so you'll find like a 20-year-old PWD in primary school, or a 30-year-old PWD just coming into high school because of so many barriers to education.
Right.
And then we maybe get our first job in our 40s or 50s. And so we don't have as much time as non-disabled people to build a career, to make some savings, and then to retire in dignity. So I've been able to add 5 years to our retirement age for that reason. Another key provision is around tax exemption So now in my act, as a person with disability, you are eligible for tax exemption to a particular threshold because, of course, we have many things to deal with. We have medical bills, physiotherapy bills. We have, for example, I walk around with an aid all the time, so that's something that is an expense for me.
Right.
I have to pay double for everything, whether it's transport, whether it's entry to this, applying for that. So there are hidden costs that maybe the larger community of Kenyans do not understand. They cannot see us having to deal with. So we've been able, through the Act, to push for tax exemption for us. And also, in addition to that, I've been able to push tax exemptions for parents and caregivers of PWDs. Because, as you can imagine, if I am somebody who needs help from my parent or my caregiver 24/7, because I need someone's help all the time.
That they need help too.
Exactly. And they also have to basically abandon their own dreams, their own lives, their own careers to help and take care of us as our parent or as our caregiver. So they also suffer in that way. And they have, like I say, all the burdens of, financial burdens, emotional burdens, sort of societal burdens as well that we don't see. So we've been able, through the Act, to see and hear parents, because they came up to me and said, listen, we want somebody to help us. We're really struggling. We want to give the best life possible for our PWDs and those we love with disabilities, but we can't because we have to let go of our own lives to take care of our people with disabilities. So the Act now recognizes and sees them. So they're also tax exempt or eligible for tax exemption as well. Another thing I would like to mention is really groundbreaking for us is matters of accessibility. That is a big issue everywhere. Everywhere. So now, before this Act, there were no punitive actions for somebody just leaving their building without accessibility, or their transport, or their product, or their service, leaving us out of it. So now I'm saying in the Act, and now it's an Act of Parliament, so this needs implementation. We're saying that if your building is more than 4 stories high, it has no lift, somebody can come and use the Act as a tool to make you do that. Now there's consequences to that. There's fines that could be imposed if you don't comply with adjustment orders that are given to you or your building. You also could face jail time. So now it's no longer an ask. Before, we as people with disabilities are used to being like, please
they would
do this for us.
Fight for it. Now it's a right.
Now it's an absolute human right. So things like that are now explicit in the Act, and even things like begging. That there was no criminalization of people who use people with disabilities to beg and ask for alms. I don't know if it's something that's happened in India.
Yes.
It happens, right?
Yes.
We have very similar societies where you find people who will handpick PWDs, drop them off at a corner in the morning at 8 o'clock, and it's the PWD's job to beg for money. Then they pick them up in the evening and say, okay, how much did you earn today? How much did you earn? How much did you earn? So it's like a cartel. And there was never a punitive action against it. Was never criminalized before this Act. So now we're saying, if you are found to be running some sort of a cartel or a group where you are using PWDs to beg or to receive alms, then you can be fined 2 million shillings or be imprisoned for 2 years or both.
But in India, Crystal, we passed an Act of Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which categorically said that all public buildings in India, so all the government buildings, all the major institutional buildings, have to be accessible. It's great to have the Act, but the implementation is abysmal. Many court buildings in India, legal courts, also do not have accessibility. And then there is a larger question that when we think about the issues that persons with disability are facing, it's usually about, if we have built a ramp or we've built a lift, and therefore, we've done our job.
You're right. You're supposed to be applauded for it.
Yes. I mean, of course, it's a challenge, right? Like right now, the reality is that even though we have these rights-based frameworks, it's now being implemented. But then also, how do we push the envelope, if you will, to say that's not the only issue. We want equality in education. We want equality in healthcare spaces. We just want equality in every aspect of life. So now it could also be a double-edged sword. That do we first ensure accessibility in terms of physical accessibility before we go on to other issues? Or how do we, what's the best way to navigate this at a policy level world over?
I think it's really, I mean, that's the bane of contention in every single jurisdiction. Like, how do you implement this piece of legislation that so many countries are now either pushing for or already have in place? And I think that accessibility, for me, is at the foundation of human rights or disability rights. Because think about it this way. If I cannot access a primary school, then I will not get education. If I cannot access a high school, I cannot move forward my education. If I cannot access a workplace, I cannot get a job or keep a job or be good at that job because I'm always worrying about the physical infrastructure. If I cannot access a hospital, I will not be, things like that.
Yes.
So I think that physical accessibility is very important.
And
I think it's
kind of the main challenge first.
Because if I can get into the building, I can access the service. And then if I can access the service, I can then be empowered, in whatever way, in whatever sector. But it needs for me to be able to enter the building. It needs for me to be able to leave my home.
Right.
To be able to enter that public service vehicle so that I can then seek whatever rights that I require as a person with disability.
Right.
So I think it's very important. However, implementation is something the world over everyone is complaining about. And so I think that having somebody who is in a position of power who can empathize and has experience in it really does move the needle much faster. I'll give you a story. In Kenya, that 2003 Act I was talking about for disabilities, it was only passed and fast-tracked at the time because our president, the late Mwai Kibaki, acquired a physical disability back then. He became a wheelchair user. And so he realized, because of experiencing the disability,
how difficult it is, and that.
Wow, exactly. And he was in a position of power. He's the president at the time. And so he fast-tracked that through Parliament. In a record 1 year, there was a Disability Act in 2003. Only because he was experiencing it. And then fast forward to Crystal. If I did not experience my visual impairment, I wouldn't have understood how difficult it is.
But did you face resistance at the time when you were pushing for the act? Like, what did you feel like people are already aware and they're on board? Because, what is it taking away from them?
Yeah.
Or did you feel that even for something like this, when you were trying to push for the act, some people met you with resistance?
There was resistance only because people don't understand mentally. They don't understand it, intimately, why it's important. But I think a very huge job for a politician or any person in any position of leadership is to tell stories that resonate. If you're not a good storyteller, and I really thank this ability of mine of getting on stage and loving the performing arts and loving communications, that really helped me translate these stories from just that's a you issue, like you guys stay over there and deal with that, for it to being an issue that every single parliamentarian saw themselves and their constituents dealing with and having to navigate through. So being able to tell these stories in a way that is relatable, in a way that people feel this is not just something that is Crystal should be dealing with on her own, but let's back her. Let's lobby for this to be moved through Parliament much faster. I think really, really helped. So there wasn't resistance in terms of a hard boundary or a hard wall. It was more like a mental resistance. But when I was able to pass that barrier and say, hey,
and
guys,
just be articulate about it and talk about it.
Yes. And bringing everyone into the realization that it's all of our problem, because one day it could be me.
Yes.
Because disability is not just about a sickness, right, or an accident. It comes with age as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So one day you will need that ramp. You will need the sign language interpreter in a
And then
hospital.
what?
Yeah, exactly. And then what? You will need traffic lights to be able to work and people to respect the traffic rules, because one day it'll be you. It's not just going to be me.
In fact, in India, what we're trying to push for is that currently there is a very high tax on wheelchairs and hearing aids.
Yes.
And so then the point is, it's almost like you're taxing me to walk, and you're taxing me to be able to hear. And therefore, I think the other major challenge is ensuring that people who are disabled don't have to pay these higher taxes.
Yes.
Like in your case, it was just so heartening to hear that you're saying, let's move the retiring age. I think that is wonderful. But here we are just placing an extra burden on them by taxing these things. So is a taxing on items that concern persons with disabilities, something that is being talked about in Kenya as well?
Yes. So in the Act, aren't just a punitive action, because I was very adamant to say like, okay, what motivates a person to change or to make change? Yes, you can punish them, but also you can incentivize them. And so, for example, in the Act, I've also said that if you're an employee and you hire a person with disability and you make accommodations in your workplace or your workspace, or you buy these assistive technologies or provide sign language interpretation in your office, then you are able to apply for a tax cut. So you get tax relief, so that people don't feel like, oh man,
It's
I'm
an
just
extra
get-
monetary
Yeah,
burden on me.
exactly. Actually, they get incentivized to do the right thing.
Right.
There is something moral and beneficial for you to do the right thing.
And I think for policies to work, you always need like incentives in place
Yes.
and also penal action. It can't just be like one of them.
It's a multi-pronged approach you have to take. So, being taxed to hear, being taxed to move or to walk is something that I also feel is universal in all of our jurisdictions. And I've been trying to push government to say, hey, we need manufacturers to come to Kenya.
Right.
We need to make our own.
Right.
Why do we have to continue to let people with disabilities have to ship things over? Why not create industry where we are also creating our own hearing aids, our own, cheaply made laptops or gadgets, so that which have voice command on it for visually impaired people, things like that. Because our solution will only come from ourselves if it's going to be long-lasting, sustainable.
Yes.
People with disabilities are not going away. Some of our disabilities are never going away. Like a miracle could come tomorrow, but most likely it won't. So what are we doing to lessen the burden? Because listen, when you think about it, really, in my opinion, and because I've lived on both sides of the street, like I said, people with disabilities are super special. They actually, research shows that if you make an environment, a space, a technology, a service, a product good for a PWD, you automatically make it good for everybody else. If I can walk from here down the street to the shop, to a school, to a workplace on my own and feel safe as a visually impaired person, a child can do it, an elderly person can do it, a woman can do it safely. Everyone benefits. We are like the blueprint with a benchmark. So why not use us as that?
Yeah,
and see us more in a positive light than actually like, oh, this is a burden. Use us as the benchmark to be like, okay, if that can work with PWDs, then we are doing a service to the entire society.
We are designing something right. In fact, I heard this somewhere that urban design is still very full of architectural apartheid.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
so unless we make our cities, we design our cities and our institutions and our buildings in a way that anybody can access it, we haven't reached where we ought to be. So that has to be our benchmark.
And hand in hand, before you build metal ramps, you must build mental ramps. Because it's people are the ones behind these systems, people are the ones designing these things. And without having their mindset change, then it will not, like we had said, head, heart, and then into the hand. It will not translate for them. And so you have to make people understand that deaf people speak without talking. That's beautiful, right? Wheelchair users move without walking, right? Visually impaired people like myself, we read without seeing. That is a superpower. Is that something that can actually translate and innovate so many things if only people in society would let it? If people who are on the making these decisions at the highest level possible, presidency even, if they saw it that way, then so much would change. And I wish that, for me, I think the natural way forward is to write the law like I've done and then move into a position where I can implement the law, because that's like, next level, next step. And so if I was in a position and if I were to advise people who want to see change, is to get into politics, because that's where all the juice is.
Okay. So we are going to quickly enter into a rapid fire round.
Cool.
Where I'm going to ask you some quick questions and you respond to them. All right. So who's your favorite artist of all times?
It's between Bob Marley and Mariah Carey. Because I love the soul of Mariah Carey. I love her voice. I love how she translates, and she is like just a powerhouse and a diva, of course, but also Bob Marley and all of his inclusive and sort of like a political messaging in his music is beautiful.
One thing that the senator still feels shy, conscious, or troubled about?
Oh my gosh, can I get vulnerable here? Shy or vulnerable about? Wow. I don't know. That's so difficult. So many things. I still feel vulnerable about my physical safety. I think being in a room where you can't use body language, I can't read the room in terms of like looking at what people feeling, how people thinking. Are they resonating with me? Am I boring them? Are they on their phones? So there's a vulnerability there for me as well as a politician, because of course in politics, that's the whole point. You're supposed to be able to relate to people and instantly be able to pivot if you feel, okay, that message is not working. So, yeah, it's kind of difficult for me still. Yeah.
If somebody who's watching us thinks, well, Crystal has excellent communication skills, and that's one reason why she's been able to make this kind of impact. I can't speak. I don't know how to express, either because I have a disability or not. But just communication is not my strength. What do you tell them?
I think that everything that you have now is all that you need right now. So there must be a skill, there must be a talent, there must be something about you that is unique and that can be used for good. So even if it's not the art of articulation or the art of communication, there must be something else that you're really good at that you can translate and express through that. And I would encourage for you to find that thing and then just use the heck out of it, basically, and don't be shy about it. Even my disability, I call it my disability card. When I need to pull it out my back pocket, I don't feel shy. I am like, I have a disability, I deserve, and not feel shy about it. So yeah, I think all that you have is all that you need right now.
And when are you coming to India?
I was supposed to have been there last month in Goa.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was supposed to be.
What were you coming for?
There's a festival called International Purple Fest that is organized by the Goan government, local government, plus I support, I think, for national government. And it happens every year. And they convene about 10,000 PWDs from across India and different parts of the world as well to come and discuss all that we're discussing now.
Why didn't you come?
I didn't come because I didn't get a visa.
Ouch.
Imagine.
Indian government official in Ministry of External Affairs.
Come to the front of the
room.
room.
Listening,
Let's talk.
Yeah, she's talking all about this program, so she would have been a great asset. So, but that's a shame.
But I really want to come, and it was around Diwali time as well. So it would have been beautiful to like have the two experiences, go to the fest, and then enjoy all the festivities.
Well, I really hope that you come to India soon.
I will.
And finally, this is a question I ask everybody: what's your biggest, boldest vision that you want should come to light while you're alive? So think about potential biggest manifestation and put it out there in the universe.
Wow. I want to see a Kenya and an Africa and a world that sees not my disability but my ability first. It shouldn't be about disability. It should be about this ability and this ability and that ability.
Wow.
That's what I want. And if I could, wave my magic wand before the day I'm to depart from this world, that is absolutely what I would do, to make people feel safe, feel seen, feel heard, feel understood, because the underdogs weigh way more in this world than the elite, that run it. And so imagine the power and the access that we'll be able to have if our environment was created in a way that you see our ability first, not the disability first. And disability it's a pain in the ass. I'm not sorry to say that. Oops, sorry. It's a pain and it's difficult. And it's difficult to see other people progress without you, to move forward without you.
Yes.
And you're still sort of trying to figure out the small things like, how do I live? How do I move from A to B? How do I read my documents? How do I go to work? How do I get a job? It's very difficult and then heartbreaking, really. And so when I was a young person, I didn't see anybody who was representing the things that I wanted to see in the world. I was like, who is a young person who is black, who has a disability, who is a woman? I didn't see that in Kenya.
And now we have you.
And I decided to become the person that I want to see. Because
more power to you for that.
Thank you. Without, I believe that if you don't, you cannot be what you don't see. There's a very important representation for me.
Can I hold your hands for a second? So this is also something I do with everybody who's on this podcast. And I just want to share a quick story. So I was in school and I had read this chapter where the story goes that there was a school and they had a practice that each day of the year, one student would be blindfolded. And everybody else would have to hold them and help them navigate.
Oh, cool.
And so every student knew what it is like to want help and ask for help. And I just really sincerely hope that everybody who's watching this podcast today, if we've been able to transfer this feeling of, you can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you have to be it, then I think we would have served our purpose. So thank you so much
you, Avani.
for coming.
Thank you.
And for just being this amazing, beautiful, illuminating light that you are.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And before we go, could you just ask everybody who's watching us to subscribe to Her Path to Power, if you like the conversation, that is, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, my name is Crsytal Asige. I am a senator from the Republic of Kenya, and I want you to do one thing, just one. Like, share, and subscribe to Her Path to Power podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.
Power.
Her Path to Power.